Hi, welcome you all to Unacademy Plus courses for the upcoming SSC exam. One of the batch plus batch has been started by the Unacademy. I am part of this batch. My name is Bibin Kunjumon. My referral code is Bibin Kunjumon IPS that you could use while subscribing for the plus under the Unacademy platform. So who am I? My name is Bibin Kunjumon. As I said earlier, I have 5 years of experience in UPSC, SSC and KS exam. KS in the sense Karnataka Administrative Service also, Kerala Administrative Service also. Yes, of course, I became part of one of the state government services under Kerala government. Fine. So here something you need to notice that today is the 31st. Today subscription rates has been increasing under Unacademy Plus courses. Last time means up to today 31st December it is 5,400 for 1 year subscription for the SSC exam, but 1 year is not required for you. You could go for with a 6 month 5320, and from tomorrow onwards means next year onwards it's going to be 4,800. So if you are joining today you can save some money. So price hike by 31st December. Fine. So I was discussing in the plus courses in the Unacademy app for the SSC CGL and CHSL exam 2020 under English medium. So it's exclusively an English medium class. So please don't ask me it's a bilingual explanation and all. I won't be detailing anything in Kannada, Hindi or Malayalam, whatever it is. So it is purely in English medium. And here what I am going to teach, what I am going to discuss means some of the portions in polity and the governance I will do. Along with that some GK portion also I will be discussing in this class. Fine. So whoever interested in the classes, you could always look back to Unacademy app class, because I am taking classes in that. I have taken several classes in that. So you could always look into that. Fine. So first I am discussing some of the GK questions. Whenever I am discussing any particular portion or any particular questions, always I keep in mind the SSC exam pattern, because since we are preparing for the SSC exam pattern, always we should align our study and teaching with the SSC exam pattern. So here some of the current affairs questions I have included, so you can just go through that. Once we have answered that, we will be entering into the polity governance. Fine. So in the last month means November and December, this month December, there were a lot of current affairs that have more significance in the SSC exam preparation perspective. So here one particular acronym I have seen in a particular question and a newspaper piece, that is CLMV countries. Can you tell me what are CLMV countries? Fine. So these 4 letters C, L, M, V are the starting letters of different countries that we can guess, no issue at all. But the thing is that the CLMV, which country, why this country CLMV is important? Is it in the neighborhood of India, or it is in the African region, or it is Afro-Asian region? Fine. So like that you need to guess it out. So when you see the first option, it is China, Libya, Mali, Vietnam. We are not seeing any common factor that's connecting these 4 countries. So we move to the next option. Cambodia, Laos, Myanmar, Vietnam. Again, Cambodia and Laos, Myanmar, Vietnam comes in the East Asian region. So it's okay, they have something common. Colombia, Latin America, Mongolia, Vienna. Vienna is not a country, so we can easily exclude C. Chile, Lithuania, Mexico, Venezuela. So except Lithuania, these all countries are South American countries. Lithuania is not. So this also, it's not common. So more of, even if you don't know the reason for CLMV countries, more of, you can easily get that. Yes, it might be the answer might be B. Yes or no? Let's see where it is or not. Yes, it is. In India's eastern region, that is, you can say, see, CLMV countries. C for Cambodia, L for Laos, M for Myanmar, V for Vietnam. Then you may ask, so why this particular CLMV is important? CLMV countries, why these are important today's perspective and why it is significant in the current affairs preparation. The CLMV countries are Cambodia, Laos, Myanmar and Vietnam. They have a unique position in the Southeast Asian region. Yes, we have seen that, no, means Indian mainland or the Central Asian mainland could be connected to Southeast Asian region, geographical region, or South China Sea through these CLMV countries, and the countries act as a gateway for the market and access to European Union and China and also other markets due to various trade agreements. See, these countries have several trade agreements that might be sometimes free trade agreements, and this can help India and other countries to bypass its product through these particular countries. By that it will get a more and more market access. Fine. These four countries also hold rich natural resources such as copper, oil, natural gas, gemstone and teak wood. Fine. Why in the current affairs section we are studying that the 6th India-CLMV Business Conclave 2020 recently held. That's why we are studying this in the current affairs section. Fine. So during this particular conclave, India invited the CLMV countries to join International Solar Alliance and Resilient Supply Chain Initiative. See, we know that these CLMV countries also comes in those regions where the solar alliance is possible. That means, see, we know that in 2015, as part of Conference of Parties of UNFCCC, Paris Treaty signed. So when the Paris Treaty signed, the countries around the world agreed for a more responsible action. Responsible action for what? More responsible action for reversing climate change. More responsible action for restricting or checking global warming. So the countries has taken those kinds of different agreements under this Conference of Parties COP 2015 Paris Summit. Along with that, India and France jointly brought another concept, that is International Solar Alliance. What is International Solar Alliance? International Solar Alliance tries to tap the easily available resources common to these countries. What countries? In Tropic of Cancer and Tropic of Capricorn. So up to Tropic of Cancer and Tropic of Capricorn, we know that the sunlight falls vertically. Since the sunlight falls vertically in these regions, means from the equator up to here, from the equator up to here. Since the sunlight falls vertically in this region, these are the zones in that we get maximum sunlight. Yes or no? We get maximum sunlight. So they are receiving maximum sunlight means they have a more potential for capping solar energy. Yes or no? They have more potential for capping solar energy. Yes, these countries have that potential, and that's why India has brought this particular an alliance of countries between Tropic of Cancer and Tropic of Capricorn to form International Solar Alliance. So under International Solar Alliance, the countries wants to pool resources. Fine, resources in the sense the technology technology and different products for regularizing solar energy capping. Means India and these countries objected to or tries to maximize the solar photovoltaic cells usage, and by that some way meeting its energy needs through renewable energy processes. Fine. So India has many ambitious targets related with the solar energy. For example, by 2022, India wants to reach 175 gigawatt of renewable energy target, and by 2030, near to 450 gigawatt India wants to cap so that it can move away from the fossil fuel usage. Fine. So here in this conclave, India has invited India's neighborhood countries also into International Solar Alliance. Fine. The conclave held under the theme. So this theme is very much important for your exam purpose. Building bridges for constructive development. Fine. So during this conclave, India has also mentioned that whenever India is well equipped with the COVID-19 vaccine, India will definitely share its prospect with these CLMV countries also. Now International Solar Alliance, that's what I have already discussed with you. COP21, India and France, they have taken this step. So by that we are trying to get maximum solar energy. As of today, International Solar Alliance has 121 countries initiated by India, sunshine countries between Tropic of Cancer, Tropic of Capricorn. So the next question, pre-RF. Okay, have you read it? So 3RF was launched by the United Nations to revitalize Beirut. What is 3RF framework? So what are the keywords in this question? One is 3RF. It is launched by whom? It is launched by the United Nations. So it is launched by the United Nations for what? Revitalizing Beirut. Fine. So usually you might have heard about the word 3R related with reduce, reuse and recycle. Yes or no? Have you heard it? For example, related with the plastic waste. Related with the plastic waste. Or related with the electronic goods. So in this perspective, you might have heard more about these because these are non-biodegradable. Non-biodegradable. So a particular product non-biodegradable means you know that the microorganism in the nature cannot degrade it. It cannot degrade it. It cannot degrade it means what? Means there will be always a residue in the ecosystem, residue in the environment that is some way is harmful to the environment. It is polluting the environment. Yes or no? It is obstructing the environment's normal functioning. Now, here the question is very much extremely different question because it is asking about revitalizing Beirut. So first you should know what happened in the Beirut. Then only you can say what it means 3RF. We know that in August month 2020, there was a deadly blast in Beirut. Where is this Beirut? It is the capital of Lebanon. It is the capital of Lebanon. And that has killed several people. And you might have noticed that in the newspaper, there were news of protest amid COVID-19 pandemic in this Lebanon. Related with this mismanagement of explosives by the government and the carelessness that way lead to the deadly blast in the Beirut. So associated with that, this 3RF term is important. 3RF stands for Reform, Recovery and Reconstruction Framework. 3RF stands for Reform, Recovery and Reconstruction Framework. It was launched by whom? It was launched by United Nations. For what purpose? For revitalizing Beirut. The framework was also prepared by the United Nations in association with the World Bank and the European Union. So you have understood that 3RF means reform, recovery and reconstruction. Is that okay? See, this was the condition of Beirut after the explosion. Is that okay? So next question. Try to answer is. So when was Arecibo telescope built? When was Arecibo telescope built? See, in that perspective you may ask, sir, it is a current affairs question and you are asking about Arecibo telescope, but maximum case as per the option it is in 2001. So minimum case it is 1963. So it looked like a pretty old current affairs content. Why did you ask this? That is the question. The reason is this particular telescope became a news piece recently. That's why we are studying that. See, can you see this particular telescope? This is what is Arecibo telescope. So you could see that here. See, some portion is damaged. Don't think that it is some kind of pattern in this telescope. No, this is got damaged. So after this excessive damage, it collapsed recently. See, it is located in Puerto Rico. It was located in Puerto Rico. Now it is in damaged situation. So Puerto Rico Arecibo telescope was built in 1963. Fine, it is built in 1963. It is the second largest single dish radio telescope. What is it? Second largest single dish radio telescope in the world. It was in news recently because of its collapse. And it was owned by these, but those things are not at all important for your exam purpose. For your SSC exam, what is important means it is built in 1963. That's important. It is a single dish radio telescope is important, and where it was located in Puerto Rico. So rather than a scientific contribution, it usually drag around 90,000 visitors annually, and Puerto Rico was making hell out of money out of these visitors. Now the next question from the current affairs, what is DEAM? Have you heard of it? What is DEAM? So it may be a cloud platform, it may be a cyber dome project, it may be a new security solution, or it may be a cryptocurrency. What is DEAM? Have you heard it? So if you are seeing it for the first time, it may look that all the options are similar. But again, it was in news because see, DEAM, Facebook. So Facebook supported cryptocurrency is DEAM. But you might be remembering this symbol. This was not associated with the DEAM earlier. It was earlier associated with the Libra. Yes or no? So the Facebook backed cryptocurrency Libra, which has been rebranded as a DEAM. So in layman language, Facebook backed cryptocurrency Libra rebranded as DEAM. So Libra is DEAM, today's DEAM. Fine. So why they have done this particular thing? For getting a regulatory approval from different countries, emphasizing that the project has organizational independence, because we know that cryptocurrencies are tagged as new age currency. New age currency. So new age means less control or market dependent. Fine. So here when you are taking the Libra, that was wholly owned by Facebook. So there was a suspicion associated with this. That means if this cryptocurrency is manned by the Facebook, there are chances of misusing, or the Facebook is using its clout over this currency. That's why Facebook recently rebranded it and kept a particular distance between this particular cryptocurrency, that is Diem. Fine. Diem in the Latin means the day. That won't be asked for your exam. And why the Libra changed? Libra received a criticism because of this possibility of threatening the traditional governmental and financial system, which may result in upending the financial stability. Fine. Diem is a stable coin, unlike the cryptocurrencies. See, we have heard many cryptocurrencies. Yes or no? For example, Bitcoin currency you might have heard. Bitcoin currency. The first cryptocurrency that came with the blockchain technology is Bitcoin. Then Diem is a cryptocurrency like Bitcoin, but it has a difference. The difference is Diem is to use permissioned blockchain. At the same time, other cryptocurrencies are using permissionless blockchain. So what is the advantage of this? Means you will get a more authoritative result. You will get more authoritative trust on this particular currency. Is that okay? So that's what about the current affairs. Some of the indications I have given you. So like that, this most of the current affairs of the December month and November month I have discussed in plus courses in Unacademy platform. Please have a look on that. It will be helpful for you. So really hundreds of the students are watching that class, so it will be helpful for you, so be aware about that. Fine. So as of today I have finished the December and the November current affairs, including different summits, including the awards, including the themes, including the most important MCQs, etc. Fine. And another plus course I am running under Unacademy is related with the general awareness portion of Tier 1 exam. In that 25 questions. Okay. So in that 25 questions, so different subjects we need to study. So polity we need to study, geography we need to study, history we need to study, economy we need to study, current affairs, environment. Is that okay? So in that the polity subject I have started around 4 classes. I have completed that. So here I am going to give you a rough idea about what all things I have done in that class. I have started with the Constitution of India, because the Samvidhan, the system we see around, has been as per the constitutional provisions. Fine. So in the Constitution, this way it looks like. Constitution, like I mentioned in the class, it's a book. So what kind of book? It is a rule book. So what do you mean by a rule book? Rule book describes the rules of governance of the country. That means this book contains, like a normal book, a preface. Preface means an introduction part, and main body and annex. Is that okay? So preface is there, main body is there, annex is there. Fine. And in the case of preface, in constitutional term we call it as preamble. Fine. In the case of body, you could see here that body consists of different parts and under different subject, and each part consists of several articles. For example, the part 1 you take, the subject is union and its territory, article 1 to 4. And the part 2 you take, that is citizenship, article 5 to 11. And the part 3 you take, fundamental rights, from article 12 to article 35. And the part 4 is DPSP, article 36 to 51. So like that, part 4A, 5, 6, 7 repealed, then 8 is there, 9, 10, 9, 9A, 9B, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So up to 22 you could see. So this numbering, when you observe, sometimes you see about this 14A, 9A, 9B. Are you getting it? So how this A, B, C are coming to the main numbers? And we have heard about different constitutional amendments. Is the number of parts from 22, is it changed? The number of article, the last article number you could see here, it is 395. But when you move here, you could see here 324 to 329A. So A came from where? 300A came from where? Then 243 ZH to ZT came from where? So the numbering itself looks like so confusing to you if you are a fresher to the polity study. Keep in mind the different parts when the constitution was amended, when the constitution was enacted for the first time. That day is 26 November 1949. So 26 November 1949 is known as the day we adopted the constitution and we enacted the constitution. We adopted the constitution, we have enacted the constitution. So this particular date is mentioned in the preamble. So when we adopted the constitution, when we enacted the constitution, there were only 22 parts. How many articles? There were only 395 articles. How many schedules? There were only 8 schedules. So what is this meaning of schedule? See here in the preface, you have seen preface means preamble. Body means parts, chapters and articles. Annex means schedules. Schedules means this. Can you see? First schedule, second schedule, third schedule, like that. Fine? Fine. So in the preamble, the dates mentioned as 26 November 1949. On the day of adoption, we had 22 parts, 395 articles and schedule 8. And when you look part and article, you will see the part number as 22. Yes or no? Even today also the part number is 22. Article ending number is 395. That means when you look the serial number is same, no change. But when you count it, it has been changed. Why it has been changed? When you count it, then it has been changed. Why it has been changed? Because through different amendment process. So what is this amendment process? Amendment process is some way of changing the articles or changing the part, changing the schedule. That is what is amendment. Means constitution content you could change by way of addition, by way of removing or deletion, by way of altering the content. Okay. So that's why when you look today, the number of parts in the constitution is around 25. The number of article is near to 480 and the number of schedule is around 12. So 25 and 12 is fixed. Article number is keep on changing. In the Lakshmikant latest edition, when you look, it says about more than 465. Is that okay? Is that okay? So parts 25, articles 480, schedule 12. So what is it? It is the structure of the constitution. So what did we discuss now is the structure of the constitution we have discussed. Fine. There are different parts, different subjects are there, different articles are there. And I have discussed a story also to remember the entire structure of the constitution for the exam purpose. And I have also mentioned in the class what all portions you need to remember for your exam purpose. What all portions you need to remember for your exam purpose. So what all portions you need to remember? One is if you are taking, you could see here, one second, you could see here the union and the union. Okay, the first one is the union and its territory. Yes or no? The first one is the union and its territory. Fine. And the second one is citizenship. Third one is fundamental rights. Fourth one is DPSP. So from part 1 to part 10, you need to remember the most of the articles and the theme of that. Most I said. Then you move to part 11. It is also important because it says about the relation between union and the state. Union and the states has a relation in legislative way, administrative way, financial way, trade way, and there are services and tribunals too. And part 15 is about the elections. Part 15 is about the election. Part 18 is about emergency provision. Part 20 is about amendment of the constitution. Are you getting it? So after part 14a, you only focus on part 15, then part 18, then part 20. And when you comes to the schedules, you will see first schedule, that is about our country's list of states and union territory. Second is about the salary of these 9 posts. So very careful about these 9 posts included under the schedule. Third is about oath or the pledge of these 9 posts. Fourth is about 4 means chair. About Rajya Sabha seat allocation to the states and union territories. Then fifth, sixth about scheduled and tribal area. Seventh about division of the subjects as union list, state list and concurrent list. Then eighth schedule. Eighth schedule is about the official languages. Around 22 languages are there under that, and keep in mind Rajasthani is not an official language in 8th schedule. Then 9th onwards it has been added by different amendments. 9th schedule added by the first Amendment Act of 1951. 10th schedule is by 52nd Amendment Act of 1985. 11th and 12th. 11th schedule is by 73rd Amendment Act of 1992. 12th is by 74th Amendment Act of 1992. Is that okay? 73rd and 74th. Now I have mentioned about some sources sources of our constitution and what all features our Constituent Assembly in their drafting process borrowed from others. What all provisions? One is the Government of India Act of 1935. So we know that the Government of India Act. What is this Government of India Act? Government of India Act is part of statutes, legislations that the British Parliament brought for India or for India's administrative setup. They have brought several steps. One of that is Government of India Act of 1935. From that we have borrowed these many features. What all features are there? Federal scheme, Office of Governor, Judiciary, Public Service Commission, etc., etc., emergency provision, administrative details. From British, Parliament related provisions, Cabinet system related provisions, legislative procedure we have borrowed from them. From US, judiciary related, right related, fundamental rights, then judiciary related provisions we have taken. Then from Irish Constitution, DPSP we have taken, nomination of Rajya Sabha and the method of election of the President. Then Canadian Constitution, federation with a strong centre, fine, vesting residuary powers in the centre, advisory jurisdiction. Then Australian Constitution, Germany Constitution, and USSR, Russia Constitution, French, South African and Japanese. See, it is must that triple star SSC exam you should study these borrowed feature and their respective sources for your exam. Fine. For the tier 1 exam it is must you should study this. After that I have taken different main topics in that. So as of today, I have finished fundamental duty related portions, amendment of the constitution related portions, then union executive, that is president, vice president, like that, etc. Is that okay? So fundamental duty, this is one of the easiest portion to clear, to cover for the exam. Fundamental duties that we have seen added by an amendment. Yes or no? I have included many questions, so don't worry. In the constitution, part 1 is there, part 2 is there, part 3 is there, part 4 is there. Part 3 is fundamental rights. Part 4 is DPSP. Part 4A is fundamental duty. Is that okay? So part 4A is fundamental duty. So 4A consists of only one article, that is 51A. What is that article? 51A. So article 51A consists of around 11 points. How many points? 11 points. And the fundamental duties are mandated for citizens of India. When you take the fundamental rights, it is not just for the citizen. Some are only for the citizen, but others are for citizens and foreigners. It is available. DPSP, when you take, that is some directions to the government, and fundamental duty is exclusively for the citizens of India. Let's analyze each point, because they can ask odd one out in fundamental duty section. Fine, so that you need to answer properly. To abide by the constitution and respect its ideals and institution, the national flag and the national anthem 1. Cherish and follow the noble ideals that inspire the national struggle for freedom. To uphold and protect sovereignty, unity, integrity of India. To defend the country and render national services when called upon to do so. To promote harmony and the spirit of common brotherhood among all the people of India, transcending means overcoming the religious, linguistic, regional or sectional diversities, and renounce practices derogatory to the dignity of woman. Next. Value and preserve the rich heritage of country's composite culture. To protect and improve the natural environment, including forests, lakes, rivers, wildlife, and to have a compassion for living creatures. To develop scientific temper, humanism, and the spirit of inquiry and reform. To safeguard public property and to abjure violence, striving towards excellence in all spheres of individual and collective activity, so that the nation constantly rises to higher levels of endeavor and achievement. To provide opportunities for education to child or ward between the age of 6 to 14 years. Fine. So this 11th one added by different amendment. This 10 other 10 fundamental duties added by other amendment. So these 10 fundamental duties added by 42nd Amendment Act of 1976 and the 11th one added by 86th Amendment Act of 2002. Is that okay? So this is 86. So you can remember it this way: 8 plus 6 is 14. So 6 to 14 years of age, elementary education, it is the duty of the parents. It is the duty of the guardian to provide their child or what. Fine. Now I have included some of the questions related with these portions. So while seeing all these questions, I will explain whatever missed points are there in the fundamental duty. First, we will look this, that is fundamental duties in the Indian Constitution are inspired from. Think over it. Done. The fundamental duties in the Indian Constitution are inspired from USSR. Yes or no? The Eastwell USSR Constitution had a set of fundamental duties and we have inspired from them, borrowed from them. Now, the next question. Answer it. Done. Which of the major democratic countries' constitution contains fundamental duties? So very careful about the question. Which of the major democratic countries' constitution contains fundamental duties? So 5 points are here. Let's analyze. First one USA, second one Canada, France, Germany, Australia. Actually the answer is none, because these countries are more of following capitalist system. So why I am saying capitalist system? Capitalist system always respect liberty, or they are trying to achieve absolute liberty. So when they are trying to achieve absolute liberty, there are rights for the citizen. Fine. Rights for the citizen. So this is maximum. So there are no provision in the constitution that is suggesting the citizens how they should be. Nothing like that. Or I could say in another way, socialistic system around the world try to include fundamental duties more, because they always wants to subjugate the people under them. So state or the government or the country is supreme than the public, it's citizens. That's why these kinds of countries always give predominance to fundamental duties, or the duties of the citizens, or how they behave, how they shouldn't they behave, like that provisions they bring. Fine. At the same time, they compromise on the rights of the people. So you can take the communist China. So in the communist China, people have a more of duties, citizens have a more of duties. Even the electoral rights they are not enjoying, political rights they are not enjoying. More, everything are controlled by the single party dominated system. So my point is that here the fundamental duty is not part of democratic countries. Most of the case socialist or communist system countries use that. So the answer is none. Then you may ask me, sir, no other country has that. No, India has that, Japan has that. Is that okay? Read these points. Fundamental duties in the constitution are inspired from USSR. So these countries are not having a list of duties. In other case, Japanese has one. Socialist countries on the contrary gave equal importance to rights and the duties of the citizen. Hence the constitution of earlier USSR declared that citizens exercise their rights and freedom was inseparable from performance of their duties. Okay, read this question. Right. The committee appointed to make recommendations about the fundamental duties in 1976. Fine. So I have told you that the fundamental duties added by a particular amendment, that is 42nd Amendment Act of 1976. So during 1976, who was the Prime Minister? Prime Minister was Indira Gandhi. So Indira Gandhi was the Prime Minister during 1976. Fine. So 1976, an amendment brought and added the fundamental duties section by inserting part 4A and article 51A. Part 4A and article 51A. Is that okay? And the fundamental duties added by which committees recommend? Which committee's recommendation? Which committee's recommendation? It was Sardar Swaran Singh committee recommendation. Or Indira Gandhi ji appointed a particular committee, that is Sardar Swaran Singh committee, for studying about the importance of fundamental duty in the constitution, and he has done a detailed scrutiny over that, and he has directed a list of fundamental duty, and most of them are accepted, some are omitted. Even you should keep in mind, when the Sardar Swaran Singh recommended, he also suggested for penalty for non-binding, non-following the fundamental duty by the citizen, and even penalty for not voting, not paying tax, like that also recommended. But all those controversial portions dropped, and only whatever we are seeing today in 51A, that is the 10 points of moderate compulsion included in the constitution. Is that okay? Okay, read this question. Done. Which one of the following is not a fundamental duty? So I have told you there 11 fundamental duties are there. Those 11 fundamental duty, even though you don't need to remember one by one, whenever the MCQ option is given like this, which one of the following is a fundamental duty, which one of the following is not a fundamental duty, you should able to identify which one is that and which one is not that. Because when we study DPSP, Directive Principles of the State Policy, DPSP, you will see that in most of the cases DPSP and fundamental duty looks similar. Both have a socialistic tendency, both have a particular, even though fundamental duty is a direction to the citizen, similarly the DPSP is a direction to the government. Even though one is government, one is citizen, both are direction, both are recommendations, both are some way we could say duties. So always beware of these points. That's why I have told you, read it a number of times and study fundamental duty. So which one of the following is not a fundamental duty? One is safeguarding public property. Yes, it is. Developing scientific timber. Yes, it is. And uphold. This is uphold. Uphold and protect sovereignty. Yes, it is. Defend the country. Yes, it is. Defend the country in all wars. It is wrong. So C is the wrong answer. Then comes the next question. Okay, read it. Okay, which amendment added 11th fundamental duty? Which amendment added 11th fundamental duty? So 10 I have told you added by, first 10 added by 42nd 1976. 11th one, that is about right to education, that is by 86 Amendment Act of 2002. So 86 is the answer. Okay, now I have discussed some details related with the amendment of the constitution. That is another part in Unacademy plus classes. Here I will introduce that to you. Amendment, it's very important. You might have heard about Indian constitution is rigid as well as flexible. There used to be a constitutional supremacy related questions and arguments. In that, most of the case people argue that a constitution is considered as supreme, or A constitution is considered as a well protected for indefinite period of time only and only if it is a rigid constitution. So it needs to be a rigid constitution. So what does it mean, rigid? Rigid means amending the constitution is not easy. Not easy means what? Not easy means it requires some kind of special majority. Some kind of special majority. No simple majority. No simple majority. Only special majority is required. Is that okay? So here in the constitution, article 368 provided. Article 368 talk about the rigid nature of Indian constitution. The rigid nature. At the same time, you should keep in mind Indian constitution is flexible also. So flexible means what? Flexible means it can be amended easily. Fine. So Indian constitution has these branches. One used to say it is a rigid one. Amendment is not at all easy. For example, in the case of some amendment, special majority or dual majority of the Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha is needed. In some cases, along with the Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha approval, half of the states ratification also required. Is that okay? So that way it is rigid. But in the case of citizenship amendment bill or related with accepting a new state or creation of a new state, creation of or abolition of legislative council, quorum, salaries. So these provisions always says about flexibility nature, because even though these parts are part of the constitution, that can be amended by simple majority or like an ordinary legislation. Is that okay? It states that the parliament may in exercise of its constitutional power. Okay, now one more thing. So here in the Indian constitution, article 368 in part 20 deals with the amendment of the constitution. Fine, and it's a procedure. And it states that the parliament in exercise of its constituent power. So what is constituent power? The power to amend the constitution is constituent power. The power to amend the constitution is the constituent power. The parliament may in exercise of its constituent power amended by way of addition, variation and repeal any provision of the constitution in accordance with the procedure given in the constitution. Fine. However, the parliament cannot amend those provisions which form the basic structure of the constitution. That means the constituent power given under article 368 is not absolute. Is not absolute. That means there are some provision in the constitution, they are very much rigid, that cannot be amended. That is what is the basic structure. There are some provision in the constitution, they are very much rigid, that means they cannot be amended. Those provisions are called as basic structure, and this concept of basic structure, it's a judicially propounded theory. Judicially propounded theory means judicially has innovated itself this particular theory, and in the Kesavananda Bharati case of 1973 it came up. Okay, yeah. Now the procedure for amendment. Constitution amendment procedure is given in these points. Shall we look into that? So the first point says the bill for amendment of the constitution can be initiated in either house of the parliament. That means either in Lok Sabha or in Rajya Sabha. Yes or no? Either in Lok Sabha or in Rajya Sabha. Fine. Now keep in mind, not in state legislature. Not in state legislature. So the state cannot initiate a constitutional amendment. So this is one of the unitary tendency of our constitution. Unitary tendency means central government is more powerful. So you could see, no, only the Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha can initiate a constitutional amendment, not a state. The bill can be introduced either by a minister or by a private member. Or you could say in another word, the bill may be a private member bill or the bill may be a public member bill. The bill may be private member bill or the bill may be public member bill. And it does not require prior permission of the president. And it does not require prior permission of the president. That means usually prior permission of the president is required in case of some bill. For example, when money bill is there, when any particular financial bill is there and or demand of grant is introduced, you need the prior permission of the president for that. But in the case of ordinary legislation and in the case of this particular constitutional amendment bills, not required any prior recommendation. Fine. And the bill must be passed in each house by a majority that sometimes called as special majority, or I rather use the word dual majority. Dual in the sense we need two kinds of majority. We need two kinds of majority, type 1, type 2. Type 1 says about majority of total membership. Fine. Type 2 is called majority of 2/3 members of the house present and voting. So here membership we take, here members present and voting we take. So very careful about these difference. Each house must pass the bill separately. What? Each house must pass the bill separately. That means no provision for joint sitting is there. So no provision for joint sitting in the case of a deadlock. In the case of a deadlock. So when the deadlock happens when the Rajya Sabha and the Lok Sabha are not able to come to an agreement related with some provision in that particular amendment. And whenever the deadlock happens, there are no provision for joint sitting. Is that okay? Now, if the bill seeks to amend the federal provisions of the constitution, means, see, we know our country or our constitution is both unitary and federal. Some call it as a quasi-federal system. Quasi-federal means half federal system. So why means, if the bill seeks to amend the federal provisions of the constitution, it must be ratified by the legislatures of half of the states. These federal provisions in the constitution, which was, for example, Schedule 7. You take the example of Schedule 7. What is Schedule 7? Schedule 7 says about a union list, state list, concurrent list. So union list, state list, concurrent list, that is about the federalism. The states are deriving their power from Schedule 7. Like that, many provisions are there related to the presidential provision, Supreme Court, High Court related provision, extent of legislative power of parliament or state legislature, executive power of union and the state. These all are, when we considering that, these are federal nature. Federal nature means changing these will affect them also. That's why whenever such provisions are amended, half of the states should ratify that particular bill. So once it is properly passed, in some cases states ratification is needed. No, after obtaining that also, the bill is presented to the president. Now what the president can do? President must give his assent. That means earlier in the case of an ordinary bill, president had a different veto. So what all veto powers are there for the president? What all veto powers? President has absolute veto. President has suspensive veto. President has pocket veto. Yes or no? So absolute veto means president is rejecting a bill. Suppose an ordinary legislation passed and given for the assent of the president. And the president is saying that, yeah, I am not liking it. I am going to reject it. So that rejection is known as withholding the assent or absolute veto. Is that okay? Now about suspensive veto. What is suspensive veto? In the case of suspensive veto, temporarily president can suspend his assent. How? If that particular bill is not liked by the president may ask the legislature to consider that bill again. So when it is sent for the reconsideration, it is must that the legislator should reconsider that again, and they may send with the same bill or with the changes, whatever it is. In the second case, president needs to assent. Okay. Then comes the pocket veto. So in the case of pocket veto, it is a hidden veto. Why it is there means our constitution does not prescribe about a time limit within which the president should respond. That means president may respond in 1 day, maybe 1 hour, maybe 10 days, maybe 20 days. It's upon president own interest. That's why we call the pocket veto. In the case of pocket veto, president won't express his decision on that. Fine. So when we come here president must give his assent. That means president does not have the absolute veto, president does not have the suspensive veto, but even then the time limit not prescribed, so pocket veto is enjoyed by the president. Is that okay? Once the president's assent we got, the bill becomes an act and the constitution stands amended as per the act. Have you got it? Have you got it? Now, so I have said about a constitutional amendment. Generally, constitution amendment could be in 3 ways. One is by simple majority, one is by special majority, one is by special majority plus ratification of half of the states. So 3 methods. So these 2 and 3. So these two and 3 are under Article 368. The first one is outside 368. So outside 368 means what? Outside 368 means some other articles are responsible for that particular thing. For example, by simple majority, these all provisions could be changed. No need of Article 368 requirement. So like an ordinary legislation, it can be changed. Fine. So the quorum of the parliament, salaries and allowance, rules of procedure, abolition and creation of legislative council, and establishment of new state, alteration of boundaries, yes or no? So these all can be changed by simple majority. By special majority, fundamental rights, DPSP, so these provisions by special majority, and federal related provisions by half of the state consent. That means election of president, as I said already. Okay, so I am winding up this class. So I believe you all understood about this much. For more classes, you can subscribe plus course. So while you are subscribing plus course, you can always use my referral code. You will get 10% reduction. Is that okay? So my referral code is BIBINKUNJUMONIPS. Is that okay? Thank you for watching the class. Okay, thank you.